Welcome from the National Foreign Language Center at the University of Maryland. My name is Thomas Sauer, and I hope you've been enjoying our sessions that have premiered this morning on the NFLC YouTube channel or on our Summit website. Just as a reminder, all of the sessions, including our live stream session, will be available on the YouTube channel until August 31st. We're now joined by our second featured speaker, George Chahwan, and his talk is titled Community by Design. Welcome, George.
Hi, Thomas. Thank you for NFLC for offering me this platform, and I would like to seize this opportunity to extend, on behalf of all world language teachers, a heartfelt thank you to you, Thomas, Laura Terrell, Greta Langard, Brian Anderson, and Jeff Odell, and all the team of NFLC who brought us together. Before the pandemic, most of our academic communities were defined by geography, demography, common physical spaces, and in-person contact with students and colleagues. Many of us had had a taste of online education, either as students engaging in remote professional development opportunities, or as venturing out as pioneers of online teaching. A shout out to all of you who also were pioneered this spring. Now that online teaching is an integral piece of our toolkit, so must there be an intentional effort to shape community in ways that amplify our common purpose and create pathways among our individual students to, so that they can feel wholly connected in this shared enterprise. In preparing for this talk, I discovered that the word community in English is a derivative of the Latin from the adjective communis, meaning common or shared. An important aspect of the word communitas is public spirit, hence a sense of fellowship and society, more than simply a physical space. Likewise, the Greek language adds some rich nuances to its definition of community. The Greek equivalent of communitas, koinonia, that you see on the top left of the screen, meaning not only a society, but in fact, an idealized state of fellowship. Koine means common, as in the Koine Bible, written for the common people in biblical Greek. By contrast, the Greeks had another term for community, paroikia, but that is more related to living near one another, an aspect of academic community that, alas, for the time being, no longer is the defining principle of our communities. Let us continue to explore the nuances of this word community in the other languages we teach. In Spanish, the word community can be translated as comunidad, which my esteemed colleagues tell me is pretty much used in the same sense as in English, almost as a cognate. It may also refer to multiple things. My comunidad is usually the people that live around me, maybe my neighbors, but it may include those with whom I share my time and space, which is the school community where I work. Community is 学区 in Chinese, a relatively recent concept in China after the urbanization movement in the 20th century. And here I have to stop and say, I apologize ahead of time to all my Chinese colleagues. I hope I'm not butchering your beautiful language. So interestingly, the single character that you see to the top left of the screen, shui, refers to the god of the soil or to the altar to the god of the soil in ancient Chinese. I feel that the link between this character in ancient Chinese and the modern usage of shui hui as society reflects the deeply spiritual connection to the earth, or in other words, the world we inhabit. This links into the French communauté, which represents a spiritual gathering, a group with a common aim, so often used in la communauté européenne, commonly used to refer to the European community. Another meaning for community, in German this time, represents partnership, die Gemeinschaft. At this point, I had to start searching for how languages other than English refer to the concept of community. The term community, as you have seen and heard, implies a group of people, a quality relationship, spiritual connection, and a commonality of purpose. All these layers got me thinking about what community truly means in the context of education, and in particular, online, and how it is understood by our students. Do they see themselves as members of a community? And where do they see us as teachers in that community? What place do we occupy for them in the community? Another key question is how we, as educators, foster community, which is going to be our focus for today's keynote. Since going online, I have found myself reflecting increasingly on what has brought about my student community. How was it constructed? Did the students choose to be a part of it, or were they systematically allocated via placement tests? How do the dynamics evolve? Most of the time, because we know the students from previous classes or extracurriculars, or they know each other from the context of the school, sports club, neighborhood, or you name it, the community or the sense of community is created naturally due to a sense of belonging already being there. This makes it easier for us teachers to foster and nurture a community, and it feels as though we have chosen each other rather than been placed together. However, in some instances, as luck would have it, a disparate group is thrown together with the expectation or perhaps the hope that differences will just iron themselves out as the academic year progresses. This might be easier in person with the natural flow and proximity of the classroom. However, we recognize that this might be harder in an online context where students are in silos. You don't always have their full attention, and they might not be always present given the many challenges they are facing. This is when we, teachers, have to do some heavy lifting. We adults may feel tested. Activities are not gelling in one group. Interaction is clumsy in another. Engagement overall is very thin. You question why all you have so carefully prepared and seen work in other groups is just not taking off. It's stalling. But how are learners faring? Are we questioning the symptoms rather than researching the root problem to identify the correct cure? Are we focusing on the activity rather than the actor? Are we listening or observing? We are also facilitators, my friends, but our job is in no way facile. You must be wondering now how you should address this situation. I will try to provide some insight by inviting you to explore the Arabic definition of community, jama'a. Arabic words are generally based on triliteral roots. Three consonants which define the underlying meaning of the word. These root consonants are then put into patterns which alter the meaning of the root to create a variety of related words. In this case, the word community, jama'a, derives from the triliteral root jama'a, which means to unite, to gather, or to assemble. So the first call of action is to gather all students to discuss and establish clear community norms. In an online context, teachers could use breakout rooms or Google Docs or Padlet or any other tools available to them to help students work in a collaborative way. Understanding their own perspective will help them think about their behaviors and effective ways to interact with their peers. This might prove to be a challenging task, depending on students' willingness to work across their differences and to embrace self-learning. Next slide. At this point, we can see the role of the second derivative of the root jama'a, which is istajma'a, the second bubble to the right of your screen that you can see. Each one of the group at this point may be emotionally and physically tired. Hence, istajma'a, which means to collect one's forces. And this will require of each member of the group to dig deep into their inner positive energy tank to be able to inspire each other. Usually, having those challenging conversations is hard in person, even when we can sense if someone is anxious, nervous, or uncomfortable. So, however, there will be steps that we can make to make these conversations more manageable in an online context for our students, such as providing them with guiding questions, mechanisms to ask for help, and letting them know that they can have extra time. Stepping out of their comfort zone could be scary and challenging some, so I suggest asking students to choose a support buddy to work with. This could be their first step towards building a partnership with another member of the group. Putting our strengths together will help us build a collective strength, quwa jama'iyya, as you can see in the adjective jama'i, which is the third bubble to the bottom of the screen, which will make up the core of our community. After working through all the obstacles, the group will be able to come to a consensus. Ajma'a yujmi'u, which means that students will be able to get on the same page despite their differences. This is where we celebrate our Jumu'ah. Jumu'ah is Friday, which is the day of rest and breaking bread together, to reflect on all we have been through and affirm our personal and collective spiritual anchor. That spiritual anchor is our jama, which is the top bubble to the left of the screen. Jama is our common denominator. Online, as in the traditional class, one of the ways I like to end my meeting with my student is to celebrate by listening and singing an Arabic song together so that we can celebrate what we have achieved during our time together and to go out on a high note. In conclusion, because our physical spaces are now so restricted, I am thankful for the Arabic definition of community that does not tie community to a place, but rather reflects kindred spirits that are working towards a common aim. And I encourage you to take this definition into your new idea of classroom this weekend and in the fall. If you enjoyed this keynote and are looking for direct applications and examples of how to foster community through online activities and projects, or if you want to learn about what I consider to be my 6 pillars of community, tune into my session number 1, Community by Design, number 21, Community by Design, a guide to build and maintain a sense of belonging. Finally, please join me in giving a big round of applause to all my esteemed fellow presenters and to yourself, the 5,000 plus participants in this venue. This is going to be a wonderful event that will capture how much we all care about teaching and about our students. Together we can, and together we will, my friends. Shukran.